It's time for ROTD Weekend. I have been absolutely loving the Cook for Two community, and for those of you who have joined, I hope you have too. I will say, though, that there was something that had been bothering me about it, and that was that it didn't have a meal plan section. And there was a reason it didn't have a meal plan section, even though it was bothering me that it didn't have a meal plan section. And that reason is that I was finding it very hard to design the meal plans for in here. And every time that I would sit down, I would look at the recipe vault, which has over 80 recipes designed for two people in it. And I would start jotting things down, and things weren't quite fitting. It was like puzzle pieces that just weren't lining up. And I would try for a little while, and then I gave up. And then I'm like, well, we just won't do meal plans. And I knew that that was a little bit of a cop-out, because if I can't use the recipes to make a meal plan, how are you going to use the recipes to make a meal plan, right? Okay, so that was bugging me, and I didn't like that at all. And then one day a month ago, I was sitting down at my kitchen table, not doing work, but to actually do the meal plan for my house, for me and Marty. It was just the two of us here, and I had my phone open with the calendar and was looking at which days were busy and when we'll be home for dinner, and Marty teaches late sometimes, so I'm figuring that all out, and I made my meal plan, and it was actually very quick and very easy. And then a little while later, I was doing a meal plan again. This time my kids had come back and they were at my place, and I'm doing a meal plan for all of us. And same thing, I had my calendar open and I just jotted some things down, and I was done. And then I thought about it and I'm like, okay, why was this so easy to do for my family, but so hard to do for the website? And I realized that when I'm doing it for my family, whether that's me and Marty on our own, me, Marty, and Olivia, who is sometimes here, or all five of us or four of us, there's different subsets and permutations and commutations all the time. Marty loves when I use those math words. So there's different combinations of people all the time, but it's not that hard. And what I realized was that when I have my calendar open and I'm planning for actual days, I tend to only end up planning for about 3 meals for 3 dinners. If, the start of the week is Monday, I'm doing the meal plan for the week, and Marty teaches late one night and we're grabbing dinner with friends one night. Well, that from Monday to Friday is now just 3 evenings that I'm jotting down for, and 3 days is much easier. So I started thinking about that more and strategizing, talking with my team members, Ray and Carla and Jen, all of whom are often cooking for small households. So I'm talking with them, brainstorming, and we've come to realize that it's just way easier to plan for 3 days, and that when you plan for 3 days, you are often covering your whole week. So why not do the easy thing that covers the whole week? What do I mean exactly? So when you have a 3-day meal plan, that's perfect, because usually there's going to be one night either you have plans already or something's going to come up and you're not going to need to use one of those meals. Well, if you're only doing a 3-day meal plan, it's very easy to shift one of those meals over and nothing is going to go bad. We're just talking about a few days. If you got a 5 or 7-day meal plan that you've shopped for, well, shifting something over from day 5 over to day 8, that is sometimes going to result in some waste. You know what I mean? Also, when you have all those days of cooking, if you haven't planned out the leftovers very strategically, you end up with all these tubs of leftover food, So those are 2 reasons. Another reason is your grocery shop is smaller if you're just shopping for 3 days. And then my absolute favorite thing about this, okay, so I already said that the 3 days easily kind of stretches to 4 because you're going to have something come up or have plans one of the days, but I think it also easily stretches to 5, because when I have shopped for 3 days, plus my standard ingredients, the things that I just buy, I'll buy eggs and milk and bread and cheese and tomatoes, always lots of tomatoes and always lots of green onions. I buy all these things that I standardly get, some fruit, all those things. And then I have my 3-day of meal plan ingredients. So I've bought things for the 3 meals. Then I don't end up using everything quite up. There's leftovers, etc., but only 3 days worth. So then when I have an extra day, say the 5th day, 3 days of meal plans, 1 day of going out or something, day 5, I open the fridge and I know exactly what's there. It's not very much, it's half a tomato, half an onion, half a packet of spinach. Maybe there is some meat left or some eggs. Maybe I have a package of chicken breast in the freezer, some beans in the pantry, a jar of salsa open. Like, I can see it, and it's not 5 or 7 days worth of little odds and ends. It's just like 3 days worth of little odds and ends. And it's very easy to look at that and pull together another meal from it. You see what I mean? So the 3-day meal plan actually usually gets me through 5 days, no problem. And it's easier to come up with, it's easier to shop for, and it's delicious. Your ingredients are fresh. So all of that to say, I have solved the problem of Cook for Two not having meal plans on it. It now has meal plans, and it's going to have more and more of them all the time. But those meal plans are 3-day meal plans. They are the 3-day meal plans. They come with a grocery list, and then some of them come with a bonus day at the bottom. That bonus day says something along the lines of, if you've shopped for the above meal plan and you've finished the 3 days, you will probably have this and that left over. Use those plus this thing from your pantry and make this 4th meal. So it's very adaptable. You maybe are able to make that 4th thing depending on what you have left over. It's 3 days, like I said, grocery list, like I said. You can stack them together if you really want a meal plan for like a full week. You could do 2 of the 3-day meal plans stacked together and then one of the bonus days from them, and you've got 7 days there. So more flexibility, very easy to manage. I think you're going to love them. You can join Cook for Two at thecookful.com/spoon. The spoon is because one of our special membership offers comes with one of my smiley face wooden spoons. You can get that, or you can use the coupon code that is just for podcast listeners. That is still available. The coupon code is ROTD, which will get you the founding member rate for only $5 a month. So you could go and do that, and you will get over 80 for two recipes. They are ad-free just for you. And the meal plans, they're also quick wins, lots of tips, and there are some live private events coming up soon as well. So go to thecookful.com/spoon and join now and check out those meal plans. You're going to love them. Now, as you know, I have been finding January crazier than I expected to. And so I do not have a new interview for you today, but I went into the archives and found a very specific one to share with you. And it's because I was on Instagram, and what came into my feed was the one and only Sophie Sadler from Dirndle Kitchen making her famous Döner Kebab. And that is what she actually told us about back when she was on this show. And since then, she has a brand new cookbook out. So I thought I should tell you about Sophie's cookbook. It is German Home Kitchen, and it is full of amazing German recipes, tested, created, and photographed by Sophie. They are delicious and beautiful and wonderful. You have got to check that out and listen to my conversation with Sophie Sadler of DirndleKitchen.com. Sadler, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I'm delighted.
That was German for hello.
Oh, is that how you say hello in German?
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. That's great.
There you go. That's perfect.
Oh, good. There, I already have a word of German. There we go. So I'm excited to talk with you. You have a German food website that is amazing. How did you get started with the site? Why German website? Why German food? How did that get going?
Well, it all depends on how far back you want me to go. I think this blog has been a project that's been simmering in my blood for a long, long time. I moved to the United States in 2009 from Germany. I was 20 years old. And the more I lived here, the more I was like, gosh, I really miss real German food, because there are not very many German restaurants or German-like restaurants where you can eat at and you have an experience like you would in Germany. Mm-hmm. But honestly, even some restaurants in Germany, I'm like, I can do that so much better than these German restaurants. So I really wanted for myself and for other people to have a place to go to where they could pick up authentic German cooking and baking, because I do equally, really. I do like half cooking, half baking, and would have an experience just like one that they would have if they went to an authentic little German corner bakery and they picked up a little pastry and they would take a bite out of it and they could close their eyes and imagine themselves right there. Same with the schnitzels and the bratwurst and Rinderrouladen, which are like braised beef roll-ups. So good. But yeah, just like imagine like you're taking a mini trip to Germany, because that's really my intention, is to help me overcome homesickness, have other people overcome homesickness. And sometimes you don't have to take that 5,000 mile, well, from Kansas City, it's 5,000 miles to Germany. And all you have to do is maybe cook a nice meal and share it with some people you love. And you can have that experience right at home.
So before you started the site, were you cooking mostly German food then as well? Or was your focus kind of all over, but the website focus was German?
So honestly, I get so bored with cooking the same kinds of foods. So I love exploring all kinds of cuisines, and I find inspiration like in all sorts of places. And to the German cooking, I apply it more in like maybe simplifying certain cooking methods or trying out certain other ways of how to do things, but still making it authentic. So it's something where you're gonna like achieve a really high quality end result that's authentic, but just kind of adjusting some of those methods maybe to where I live now, which is the United States. And you can't find all of those ingredients that taste just like Germany. You may have to find some substitutions. Also, just so you don't have those extra hurdles and obstacles in your way as you're just trying to feel closer to home. To me, at least, it's easier if I can say like, oh, well, instead of this, use Greek yogurt, because guess what? You can just pick it up right there on your corner market. You don't have to find a specialty store to get that. And I want you to just be able to make the food, and it's going to be an authentic experience still. So use that. But yeah, I always try to think about ways of like, okay, just in case people don't have access to certain foods, they can still help themselves feel closer to Germany. And that's really also very important to me.
Well, it's an interesting point, because anybody who's traveled or lived in a place for a little while, you quickly discover that the ingredients you're familiar with or used to, the things that you would just grab like at the corner store even, you can't find it all, and you don't have them like at your fingertips. Are there certain ingredients that you've had trouble finding here that are just like in everybody's kitchen all the time back home?
Oh gosh, quark. We could probably do a whole episode just on that.
No, it's
one
funny.
Ingredient.
I know somebody who's written a book about this for France. It's called, it has a French title, but it's like a French cuisine survival guide, and it's for people who've moved from France to the States. And like, okay, when you want this, you need to buy this, and when you want this, you can't get it, so you have to make this or order this one from Amazon. Like, it's this whole thing, because it's disconcerting and weird experience when you have to change how you cook and you can't find what you want, right?
Yeah, no, it's extremely frustrating at times. And yeah, it just kind of creates those hurdles where you like really want to make this, and you almost feel like defeated in a way. Because you're like, I live in this system. I really just want to make a German cheesecake, but I have to find Quark, which is that German dairy that is just so when you really want to make that authentic German thing and you're like, I can't find this. What am I going to do? And it's very frustrating. It feels almost like you're defeated in a way, because you can't live your life in a way that you're used to. When maybe you lived in Germany for a while, you visited Germany and you fell in love with this one thing and made it part of your routine there. And then it basically gets forced out of your life because somebody steals your heart and soul. No, that's a little bit how I feel about Quark, because Quark is such a staple dairy in Germany, and it is stupid inexpensive. And here you can buy 1 pound of Quark for about $8 or $9.
Wow.
And then, mind you, there's always, tax on top. So it ends up probably being closer to $10 for 1 pound of Quark, where you can find in Germany for, 50 cents to €1 for about a pound.
So what is that?
It's a specialty dairy. I'd say consistency wise, it's close to Greek yogurt, but it's very creamy and it's so good. But it tastes milder. It's not as tart tasting.
Like creme fraiche kind of thing, or more?
Still different. No,
still different.
Not quite.
So it's like Greek yogurt, but like not as tangy?
Not as tangy and more creamy. It's like, I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's like it almost tastes like there's cream in it, but there's not. They also sell different levels of fat content quark. So for certain types of desserts or recipes, we'll use a lower fat content quark, and for others, we use a higher fat content. But yeah, I've been working on a recipe for that for years, and that's going to be one of the ones that is going to be in my cookbook. I don't have it perfected yet. I need to redo it and just pay more attention to the detailed steps because it's, yeah, as it is with a lot of recipes, it's very dependent on your surroundings and like humidity and the room temperature and certain things that are harder to control depending on where you live. So it's one that's still in the works. But this morning I actually had an experience where the quark turned out to be exactly like what I remembered from Germany. And those kinds of experiences are life-changing, I would say.
Oh, very exciting. That's very cool. So you have a cookbook probably coming out next year sometime. It hasn't been like fully announced yet, but this recipe will be in there. Is that what you're saying?
This recipe will be definitely in there because it's actually the basis of like 5 other recipes, I think, that will also be in a book because I'm like, if people are going to go through the trouble and make this thing, I'd better give them some ways of how to use it.
Well, what is it used in?
So, for example, German cheesecake turns out to be much fluffier and less dense than American cheesecake. It actually is also, I would say, healthier because it has less sugar, it has less fat, and it actually has a higher protein content because quark has a higher protein content. So it's technically healthy. You should eat it any time of day, all day long.
Healthy cheesecake. I love it. I love it. We all need this.
I don't know. I mean, I love it. I prefer it over American cheesecake. I actually just did a survey on my Instagram. I was like, what do you guys think? American cheesecake or German cheesecake? And it sounded like most prefer German, but then there's this, some odd people that have never probably had German cheesecake that still preferred American cheesecake. They're very, very different though. I don't even know if you could kind of put them on the same pedestal. You'd really have to have both in order to figure out which one you like better.
I don't think I've had German cheesecake.
So good. I mean, if you've never had it, you may say, oh, what is this? This is not even cheesecake. I will definitely not eat this again or even think about it as cheesecake if obviously you have been in love with American cheesecake. But to me, it tastes like home. So I guess I prefer it.
Oh, there's something about that, right? Like you were talking about like when you can't get ingredients and that sort of thing. And I feel like, when you're already homesick and you already feel disconnected from people and then you can't find the ingredients that you want and you can't have the food that you're used to, it's just all like, it's just like a well of continued sadness. And then when you can do it, if you can make your own pork and use it to make your own cheesecake, like that does it, right?
Yes. I mean, for the most part, obviously there's my family that I can't hug with the cheesecake if I make my own. And that's really the thing I probably miss the most about Germany is because I'm the only one that moved far, far away from home. And I can't even if it was like just an hour or so, I would, drive to see my family. But it takes me a good day to get to Germany. And with 3 little kids, it's quite an undertaking and expensive to travel home. Yeah, it's always great when I do get to see them, but this definitely holds me over in the meantime. And there's, those certain types of recipes and foods that I immediately want to eat when I land in Germany. And that is also what's inspiring the recipe that I'm going to talk about today.
Well, let's do that. I don't know what it is yet. What have you brought for me? What are you telling me about?
So hopefully people aren't disappointed because this is not an authentic German recipe, but it is the most commonly eaten fast food in Germany.
Oh.
But it's actually not German.
That's fascinating.
That's intriguing.
Well, I have no idea what it could be. Hamburger? I'm trying.
So this recipe will also be in my cookbook for anyone curious about it because it is such a life-changing thing to make at home when you're so far away from Germany. And it's Döner Kebab. It's actually a Turkish food and it's the top-selling and most popular fast food in Germany. There's around 15,000 Döner restaurants in Germany. You think about population-wise, Germany is around 90 million, so about a third of the United States. And there's 15,000 Döner restaurants approximately.
That's crazy. So why? Okay, I think in Europe in general, I've noticed that there are more like kebab places than we have in the United States, but Germany even more so. Why do you think it's beloved so much?
So it actually started in Berlin, so Germany's capital, in around the 1970s. They had a huge Turkish immigrant population settling there, and that's where it was invented. And then it was just was popularized over there. And by invented, I mean the German version of it, because that version, the Döner Kebab actually is Turkish. Has existed in Turkey, but in Germany, they started adding a bunch more vegetables into it. And so I guess I should probably go back and kind of talk about what it actually is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good idea.
So it's a pita type pocket sandwich. So you may think like gyro or gyros, that's how we say it in German, but it's different because to me, it tastes completely different. I can go to a gyro, or how do you say it in Canada? Is it gyro or gyros?
We have debate, but gyro, hero.
Gyro.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows.
No,
so
nobody knows. And everybody kind of whispers it because nobody wants to be wrong, right?
Here they call it Euro. I don't know why, because it doesn't make sense to me when looking at the spelling. In Germany, we call it gyros, but that's more of a Greek version. And the Döner Kebab, the seasoning is different. The items you put in the pita pocket are different. It's actually a Turkish bread recipe as well. And so when you make it yourself, when you look on my blog for the recipe, you will see that you will need to do a lot of things, but they're all worth it, because if you don't do those things, you won't have that authentic experience. You're making your own bread. You're making your own meat marinade. There's certain ways that teach you how to make the meat so you get a similar consistency to cooking it on a rotisserie grill, because technically how they cook it is just like at a Euro or gyros or whatever Heroes restaurants, where it's like a giant stacked skewer weighing about 130 pounds of meat that they shave off, where it's being, it rotates and it cooks and it gets kind of crispy on the outside, and they shave it off and put it right into the pocket, cover it with a creamy garlicky sauce that you'll also learn how to make, and a bunch of vegetables, as well as, if you want, some cheese. Usually it's a sheep milk feta cheese, but I use a cow's milk feta cheese here, usually because it's harder to find the sheep milk cheese, and it tastes great. And then you can optionally top it with a spicy seasoning that I have had some luck substituting with a Mexican spice blend that I will also talk about, because it's impossible to find the spicy seasoning over here.
Wow, this is so exciting. We have a lot of work to do. So where do you start with this one?
So how you start is, and I'm going to pull up my recipe because there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I don't think you've got this one memorized.
Yeah, I don't make this one often enough to memorize it, but if I were trying to make it more often, I would probably freeze portions of this. And so next time, I think I would plan to make a double or a triple batch, and then just freeze the meat and freeze the bread to have a quicker way home, so to say, like a mini trip into my freezer. I don't know, these days with 3 kids, I'm always trying to think, okay, how can this be better? How can I save more time for people? Because honestly, they probably won't make this again if they make it once and go through all the effort. But you can make it and make 2 or 3 batches and have some, your homesickness cure sitting in your freezer whenever you need it. That's, I think, the best way to go. So you would start by making the bread. And so the bread is actually really simple. The ingredients for the bread are all-purpose flour. If you're in Germany, I don't know how many German listeners you get, but it's type 405. They go by different types in Germany. So type 405 is the type of flour you'd use in Germany. Basically in Germany, which is so nice. I have no idea why America hasn't adopted this. Well, also grams.
The metric conversion in the United States is going to, I don't know if it will ever happen.
I would still say, like, if you're baking for my blog, I would like for everyone to invest in a kitchen scale, like $10-20. Don't have to be a fancy scale, but it makes it so much more accurate and so much more dependable. I mean, it's so much more reliable if you're using grams over volume. So let's start the flour. We could probably do a whole episode on German flour versus American flour, but the flour is basically an all-purpose flour. Then I use active dry yeast in my recipe, which is closest to the dry yeast you can buy in Germany. Germans usually actually use fresh yeast, which is impossible to find over here too. Can you find it in Canada, fresh yeast?
I think you can find it, but it's not what most people use, no.
Yeah, so active dry gets you a good result. I always also, just on a side note, store mine in the fridge in a airtight container because it keeps way longer in there. And then if it doesn't bubble up in my lukewarm liquid within 5 minutes, I throw it out and start over with fresh yeast. So just some tips for anyone that's afraid of yeast. I also add just 1 teaspoon of sugar into my bread recipe. and a little bit of butter, room temperature butter, some sea salt, and then to activate the yeast, I use lukewarm water. And then after shaping the bread, you sprinkle it with some sesame seeds, and you make a diamond pattern with the outer edge of your palm into the bread. So you're dipping it in water, and then that way it doesn't stick to your hand. And then you sprinkle it with sesame right before you bake it. It's pretty simple to make it. So the steps for that is you're actually combining the water, the yeast, and the sugar, and allow it to bubble up for 5 minutes. Again, if it doesn't bubble up within 5 minutes, throw it out and start over with some fresh yeast. I think at that point, you're not, losing too much time or effort or ingredients. So I'd say start over at that point. Then you're mixing it with your remaining dough ingredients, knead it for 5 minutes, and then cover it and allow it to rest in a warm spot somewhere in your house. I usually, if I don't have, if it's like winter time and I don't have a warm spot, then I just put it in the oven and turn on the oven light and let it be for about an hour or until it's doubled in size. And in winter, that can last longer, and summer, that can go very quickly. So yeah, and then also humidity can play a role. Then you're going to prep 2 baking sheets with parchment paper, or I actually love using reusable silicone baking mats, and I've been trying to get in the habit of using those with almost anything. I guess the only thing with silicone baking mats, if you're ever baking at higher temperatures, like let's say over 400 or 420, then you don't want to use them because they're really not stable above those temperatures. Then you're going to divide the dough into 2 balls because you're making 2 little flatbreads basically, and you're rolling each ball out into 10-inch rounds or 25 centimeter diameter rounds. Cover those with a clean linen towel and let them rest in a warm spot for about 1 hour. And in the meantime, you can go ahead and preheat your oven. And then once the hour is up, you're going to have a shallow bowl that you're going to put some water into, and you're going to have your sesame seeds handy. You're going to take your palm, like the outer edge of the palm, and then you're going to make a diamond shaped pattern into the dough. I do have like a little video on my blog post for that. So if anyone would find a visual helpful.
Yeah. I'll link in the show notes for anyone to the recipe too. So if they want to get all the details into your video, they'll find it there. But yeah, okay. So you're dipping your hand in the water, doing the diamonds, sesame seeds.
And then you're sprinkling it with sesame salt, goes in the oven for 20 minutes. The top of it should just start to look kind of golden. And then you will be done with those. And then you can move on to the next step. I guess once you're ready to serve your doner, I like pressing it in a panini or a sandwich press. So when you're ready to serve your doner, which you'll obviously do towards the end, I wouldn't cut it up until you're ready to serve it because it can dry out quickly. But cut each one into quarters and then cut those quarters open. So basically where the corner is, cut it open so it's like a pocket that you can hold. And then fill that with your meat.
So one of these bread loaf flat things makes 4 sandwiches?
Yes, although I would say probably one person will eat 2 of those sandwiches.
Okay, that's good to know.
At least if you're a very hungry, very homesick person.
Which you are. So
yes, I promise you'll probably want to eat 2 of those. So then to make the meat, which would be your next step, I like to par freeze my chicken breast. So if you have refrigerated chicken breast, put it in the freezer for about 2 hours. And this way you're better able to slice it thinly. So I slice it into like bite-sized little, really like almost like sliver thin strip. And then I marinate the chicken in a marinade consisting of 1 onion that you actually grate to get it like super fine, Greek yogurt, olive oil, dried oregano, garlic powder, paprika powder, sea salt, and pepper. And so you're putting it back in the fridge, let it sit for about 2 hours before you're going to be cooking the chicken. You can also make this ahead of time. So you could make the meat like up to 2 days ahead of time and just let it sit in your fridge to let it marinate. Or if you're making a bunch of meat because you want to have that homesickness emergency cure fund waiting in your freezer whenever you feel like it, you can make a bunch of it and then freeze like half of it. So then anytime.
Sophie, you would freeze it before cooking it in the marinade, or you would cook it and then freeze it?
I would freeze it in the marinade, and that way all you have to do is like put it in your fridge for maybe half a day, let it kind of thaw out. If you place it in the freezer, so it's like a thin layer of chicken, it will obviously help you with the thawing process. Versus if you roll it up into a giant ball, it will take longer to thaw.
Yeah, a big clump of frozen chicken. That'll be 2 days in the fridge, not quick and convenient to cure your homesickness fast. I hear you.
You know, another thing that I didn't think about talking about is when you're making this homemade, it is so nice to know what actually goes into it, because it can be a questionable experience eating this in Germany at some restaurants. There's actually been a lot of health concerns and health violations filed for some of these restaurants. Not to scare anyone, but I'm just saying, you know, I use high quality meat. I use high quality cheese. I pay attention to those things. And when you're buying something like this in Germany, you're not paying much money for it. And I actually almost questioned, I was like, how are they even making money with this? I wonder if the quality is just so bad. They don't need to worry about this, but you don't really know. So this way you do know. Okay. So then when you're ready to cook it, you're just going to cook it. I like using avocado oil, or you can use another high heat cooking oil to saute in your skillet over medium high heat. And you want to have just enough chicken to cover the bottom of your skillet. So then you get a nice chance of getting it crispy. You don't have all the juices extract and kind of them cooking in their own juices, and you don't ever have that crispy effect. So you may need to cook it in a couple of batches.
Do you rinse or wipe the marinade off before you cook it, or it's just going straight?
Nope. Just goes right in.
Right in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would recommend using some kind of nonstick skillet, because some of that can easily caramelize, and then you may have a sticky situation. If you do have a griddle, you can cook the chicken on the griddle as well.
So the goal though is to saute it so it's cooked through, but also kind of like the chicken itself is crispy.
Yeah. So it gets browned. It doesn't get like super crispy, but it does get browned. Then you're going to make your sauce. And for the sauce, you're going to basically combine all of your ingredients. And I just want you to have it sit for about an hour to let all of the garlic and onion flavors come through in the sauce. And so for the sauce, you're going to use Greek yogurt, sour cream, mayo, onion, finely grated onion, just like you do for the marinade, grated garlic, sea salt, and pepper. So really pretty simple, but it's so good. That would be the one thing I would not make ahead of time, because I think the garlic and onion flavor in the sauce can kind of take over fast. I mean, I think it keeps for about a day, but I wouldn't let it sit in the fridge for much longer. So if you're planning to freeze the bread and planning to freeze the meat for another Döner experience in the future, I would say still make your sauce fresh.
Could you do it in a food processor instead of grating? Like, could you throw the onion, the garlic, and just...
I don't know. I've never tried it that way, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work that way. So I would just, my worry would be that you end up with a little chunk of garlic somewhere, and then you're like, oh, okay, that woke me up.
I make my tzatziki in the food processor, so garlic, and then I stir in the shredded cucumber, so it would possibly work.
So you use the whole clove of garlic when you put it in there, and you've never found like chunks of garlic in that?
No.
Yeah, then I'd say go for it. I will add that into the recipe notes. So some of the things that go into the pita pocket is, for example, I love white cabbage in there. So I make a super simple marinated cabbage salad. And so I thinly shred the cabbage, and I actually use like a mandolin slicer for this, because it gets it like super thin and like perfect. And then I marinate it for about 1 hour before serving it, but you can let it sit for longer. So I marinate it in white wine vinegar, olive oil, just a little pinch of sugar, salt, and pepper. And that's it. And it just gets like nice and soft. You can even knead it a little bit to help speed up that process, but it gets nice and soft. And I love cabbage in there. And I think that's one of the things that sets this Döner recipe apart from a Turkish Döner recipe, is that you're adding in way more vegetables than what Turkish people like to add. And this is, I think, one of the things that sets us apart and made this more of like a German version. Still Turkish. I don't want to credit any Turkish people.
Yeah. And this whole thing is fascinating, right? When you have a lot of people from one place move to another place, and then they start making the food there, and then it adapts to that new place and takes on like a different flavor, but just different thing, right? And it's not fully Turkish food anymore, and it's not fully German food, and it's more one than the other, but still not the same as the original. It's fascinating. Yeah. So in Germany, at the Döner Kebab places, Is cabbage a common vegetable that's in there?
Hmm. Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't think I've
yeah.
ever had a kebab like this with cabbage.
Yeah, I've been to other places in Europe trying to have Döner Kebab, and it's always been a disappointing experience compared to the German Döner Kebab experience.
Maybe that's why they've
So
become
yeah,
so popular in Germany, because you guys figured out
yeah.
how to do it just right. So it's cabbage, the marinated cabbage. What else do you put in there?
I like to put in some shredded lettuce, tomato, sliced raw onion, and then if you want to, you can add some feta cheese. So you can either crumble it up. In Germany, they actually cut it into a slice and just add it
Oh.
into your sandwich, but you could crumble it up instead. And then if you want to, and if you like spicy, there is this seasoning. That's a dry seasoning, and it's called Poolbiber, but it's this like chili seasoning. And I haven't been able to find it over here in the United States, but there's a seasoning that's a Mexican seasoning. It's called Pozole Spice Blend by Los Chileros. You can actually
Mm.
buy it on their website. And to me, it tastes just like Poolbiber. I guess like a medium heat level, and you can just sprinkle it over the top of it. And it's so good, delicious. And so Döner Kebab is like the first thing I usually want to eat when I land in Germany. So this way though, because I have the ability to make it myself now, I don't really have as much of a craving for it anymore when I land, because I know, oh, I can make it at home, and it actually, no, to me it tastes better because I also know what went into it. Yeah, but I love it so much. Also, I was going to mention, so chicken is super popular to use for doner, but the other alternative is to typically ground beef and ground lamb mixed together. In the notes for the recipe, there's that recipe listed as well.
Okay, so I kind of know how this slipped my mind. It's such a weird thing to forget, but I'm actually going to be in Germany briefly this summer. We're going to Belgium, and we're planning to take the train for maybe an overnight to Aachen. I actually don't, it's Aachen. I'm sure you know how to pronounce it. Aachen?
Yes, it's Aachen.
Aachen. Oh, I'm really
It's
far
like
off. But now I know. So what I have to do is get off the train, and the first thing I have to do is find a doner kebab. Is that right?
Yes, let me look up where you should go. I'm just kidding, but I'm not. If you ask a German person and you're asking them, hey, what is your favorite doner restaurant? They each have their favorite, and there's definitely better ones than others. So I will tell you exactly which ones you should hit up.
Oh, I love this.
Funny though, because, well, Aachen, you're still a 2-hour drive away from my hometown of Trier, which is Germany's oldest city.
Oh.
But the train, sadly, with the train, it takes closer to 4 hours because I just looked it up. Yeah. If you're not mobile and you don't want to hit the Autobahn with a rental car.
We're trying to not rent a car on this trip. We're going to try and just
Yeah.
do trains. We're fingers crossed. That's the goal. I love it. Well, Sophie, thank you so much. Can you let people know where they can find you online if they want to see your amazing food, see what you're up to? Where's the best place for them to go?
Yes, I am personally most active on Instagram currently, and my Instagram handle is Dirndle Kitchen. So it's DIRNDL_kitchen. And then my website is dirndlekitchen.com. DIRNDL kitchen.com. And that's where I publish all of my recipes. I also have fun little roundups like 31 German breakfast recipes you must try, and like things like that. So it's like,
that's a great idea.
Just to keep people happy and not as homesick. It's really my mission. My mission.
It's a great mission. Thank you so much, Sophie. This has been delightful.
Thank you. So nice to chat with you and Nicolene Döner Kebab.
Okay, so now I know you must love Sophie as much as I do. Go and follow her on Instagram, Dirndl_kitchen, and get that cookbook, German Home Kitchen. I am putting the link in the show notes for this podcast episode. Thank you, Sophie. The other thing I want to say is that a recipe like Sophie's Döner Kebab, while maybe not as intricate as that one, is a great thing to have in your back pocket for that like fourth day of meal plan kind of thing. I turn to sandwiches all the time when I have just little bits and pieces left. Maybe there's a little bit of lunch meat or a bit of chicken that I turn into chicken salad. I quite like to pile whatever that protein is onto buns or bread, put cheese on it, and put it in the air fryer. And then if I have any kind of leftover soup or frozen soup, or canned soup. That is a great dinner. Also, Marty really loves salads for dinner, so we'll have a salad with that sandwich, or just turn it into like a big antipasto salad with meat and stuff in it. I guess that's maybe a chef salad. Chef/antipasto salad. We do like salami, ham, hard-boiled egg, pepperoncinis, red onion, roasted peppers, cheese on like a massive bed of lettuce and greens, tomatoes, cucumbers, red onion, and just like use up those last few fresh veggies. It works really well. So keep the sandwiches, the soups, and the salads in mind for that 4th use up day to tack on to your 3-day meal plan. It is a great technique. Okay, now what am I doing in my kitchen this week? Well, recently I told you that I was kind of playing around in the kitchen a little bit, just trying things out that might turn into solidified recipe ideas. And one of the things that I did was I took a mac and cheese recipe that I created a little while ago. This is not the evaporated milk mac and cheese that keeps going viral on social media. This is a different one that I think is possibly the easiest of all the mac and cheese recipes I've ever made. Basically, what you do is you boil your macaroni noodles while they are cooking in water, just like the package instructions say to do. You get out a jar or a container with a tight-fitting lid. You add milk and flour to that and shake it up. And I've tested this with different kinds of milk. You can even use fat-free milk here, or you can use full fat like whole milk, or you can add a little bit of cream to that. Any kind of milk is going to work. You shake the flour and dairy together really well. Then after the pasta is cooked, you drain it, put it back into the pot you cooked it in, add that milk and flour mixture, and then you put it back over just a low heat. The pasta is so hot that that milk mixture gets really, really warm very fast, and it thickens really quickly, turns into a sauce right around the noodles and like in the noodles and everything like that. Then you just add your cheese and butter and you're done. Like, it is so easy. I don't know how or why we've all been messing around with roux all this time when you could just do this. I need to actually test whether I can do this with cornstarch. I suspect that I can, and then you could use gluten-free noodles and make a gluten-free version. I will test that soon. But the thing that I'm doing this week that I'm very excited about is I am taking that recipe, which I already know works beautifully, and I'm trying it out as a baked mac and cheese. So I'm going to make it again just a little bit saucier, because I know that as the baked mac warms in the oven in a casserole, it soaks up a little bit more of the liquid. So I'm going to make it a little bit saucier, and then I'm going to top it with more shredded cheese and some panko breadcrumbs, maybe a little like oil spray or some butter on top, and bake that. And I think it's going to be the easiest, most delicious baked mac and cheese too. So I'm doing that this week. And then I'm also doing another test on the côtelette. I'm not sure if I've told you about this before. This is a recipe that Marty loves, that his mom makes, that he and I have worked on kind of perfecting together. I've already done the pictures on this one and the video too, but what I actually want to test is that we usually make it with ground beef and ground pork, and I want to test it with just ground beef because I think sometimes people don't want to have to buy 2 different kinds of meat. I just want to know if I can use just the same lean ground beef for the whole amount, or if it should be a higher fat beef if I'm taking the pork out. So I'm doing that last test on that recipe this week as well. I think that is everything that I have planned to test. As to what is going live on the websites this week, I just have one recipe. You know what? We had kind of scaled back and calmed down because the holiday season is so crazy, and we were doing just one new recipe a week-ish, 1.5. We are back to doing 2 full new recipes on the sites each week, 1 on each site, in addition to the new recipes going up on Cook for 2. So yeah, there will be 2 new recipes every week starting soon, but this week it is just one. It is a recipe for easy spaghetti and meatballs that is going on the Cookful, and it's just like the most basic spaghetti and meatballs. These are really, really quick meatballs to make, really quick to cook, and then the spaghetti sauce is the simplest possible. So if you want that like really quick and easy, comforting meal that you know everybody's going to eat for sure no matter what, this is the one to have in your back pocket, I swear. It's going to be on thecookful.com on Monday. And I just remembered I'm not supposed to be telling you what is going live on the site this week anymore. I'm supposed to be telling you what is new and what went live. I'm sorry, I forgot. So you have that to look forward to on Monday. And let me see what went live this past week because I don't remember. So yes, the newest recipe on cookthestory.com is the ground beef and mushroom skillet. This one is based on my ground beef and rice skillet that tastes like stuffed peppers. It's based on that in terms of timing and like amounts, but it's really beefy and mushroomy. It kind of has like beef stroganoff vibes to it. If you add a little sour cream at the end, it has that kind of flavor. And you can make this one with just button mushrooms, like regular sliced mushrooms, or you can do half the button mushrooms and half dried mushrooms that you rehydrate, and then you use that soaking liquid as the liquid that the rice cooks in. So it's a one skillet dinner, tasty, mushroomy. Everybody in my house loves mushrooms, so this is inspired really by that. It was taking that stuffed pepper flavored one and giving it the mushroom profile that everybody here is obsessed with right now. So that was live on Cook the Story this week. Okay, I think that's all I have for you this week. Don't forget to go and join Cook for Two. You're going to love it with those recipes and those meal plans and the live cooking demos that we have coming. I'm telling you, Marty is not only my wonderful boyfriend, but he is my tech guy on this project, and he claims he is almost ready to try this live streaming from our kitchen with multiple camera angles and microphones, and I'm not really sure what's going to happen. I promise that we are going to destroy my kitchen. I think that's going to happen, but I don't know what else is going to happen. He thinks we're almost ready, so I'm excited about that. Make sure you have joined Cook for Two. Go to thecookful.com/spoon and you'll get the meal plans and the recipes and more of me and these great ideas for cooking for small households. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Sophie. It was amazing talking with you back then and re-listening this time. I loved it. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, cookfor2.us, and this podcast recipe of the day. I hope you have a great weekend. Let's get cooking.